All right, Kevin, back with you for another episode of the $1,000,000 Relationships Podcast. And today I am here with my friend Ted Miller. Ted, welcome, man. So awesome to have you.
Yay, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. And I think back to, we were just talking about before we hit the record button about how you and I originally met it in person. I want to say it was going to be like 2014 or 15 at the Infusion Con event.
Infusion Con, yeah, we were running their coaching for Clay had a mastermind thing for a bit. And
Okay.
so I white label some business coaching for many brands, and that was one of them we were doing for a little bit until he sold it. Yeah.
Okay. I remember at that event talking out in the hallway with you, and you were sharing with me some stuff you were doing at the time, and I was just absolutely blown away by the unique way you were going about marketing and putting people on virtual events and stuff.
Yeah. And virtual, it was 2014. Look at what happened to the virtual events now.
Right. Yes.
The world just COVID changed their tune. Ted's nicety turned into everyone's necessity in an instant. And what I had to figure out on September 11th, 20 years ago now, plus played out to help a lot of people. Well, my clients and my partners anyhow. Yeah, it's worked out really well.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the only way Tony Robbins does it now. He's older than us. I don't know if you know that. He's got a decade on us, but he decided to have a baby later in life. So he's got grandkids younger or older than his daughter, but he's no longer working with 14 countries a year kind of thing for his business. He took what we were doing virtually, which he witnessed, and he's facilitated that into his own business, Robbins Research International. That's how he does it. He operates out of his basement.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Wow. So he made a big pivot as a result of all of this too, and stuff
Yeah. Well, I mean, primarily I think because of his baby. When I met him, it was all about TNTs. Tony not there. TNT. Tony not there. Yeah. TNTs. So it was all like, what can we do to grow the business with a TNT?
Okay.
And that's I was like, well, I've been doing this thing for a while. You guys call it a webinar, and I've hosted like 2,000 of these, and we've done $100 million in business coaching consulting with 250,000 clients around the world. You might want to check it out, know. And back then it was like, no way in hell. Like my whole livelihood and identity is based on seminars. But COVID happened, and his hand was forced.
Yep.
In his own words, because he said this in front of 1 million people in front of a webinar, a Zoom webinar the other day. Last week, and it freed him up. Now he has 1 million listening. So the first time I went and saw him, he broke his all-time visibility record. I don't go back that far with him, but it was 2004 or 5. I went to it 2004, and he had like 2,500 people, and that was big for him. Now I sent my kids to the one he did recently in Florida. And it was a stadium, like 10,000 sold out, and they had another room with a couple thousand people in a whole nother segment.
Wow.
Yeah. It was crazy awesome. So I was glad I was able to send my kids.
Very cool, man. What an awesome experience. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I love working with entrepreneurs. It's all I've ever done. That's why I assume this audience is that you work with are other founders, business owners, maybe people hired as a CEO, and that's what I've been serving for 2 decades now. It's why I think I'm here.
Well, why don't we start by just going in a little deeper into that, what you do, Ted, who you serve, what inspires you most about what you do, and we'll just kind of set a little bit of context for everybody and start.
Yeah, when I said that's why I think I'm here, I mean why I think I'm here on this planet.
Yes.
Meaning, there is the gifts that you're born into. Well, what was I born into? I was born into, we broke as a joke, in a ghetto. And my dad did this great move. I don't know how he did it. Pure courage, I guess. He's died decades ago, but he didn't have the money to do it, but he just uprooted us, got us out of Dodge, man, got us out of the drive-bys and the ugly part, and moved in right to where there was corn country. And like, my best friend had 5 acres and horses on it. Right. So it's like moved 15 minutes out of the ghetto, Gary, in Indiana. So I was born in Hammond. And so we made our way into that, and it was freeing. But my family had a construction company, my uncle. And
Okay.
so I watched him make a ton of money and lose it all multiple times back and forth. And so that conditioned me because I was on the job site at the age of 9. So Kevin, I loved it. I would beg to go work on a job site. Think of it. When you were a kid, did you ever play with Tonka trucks?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, they had real Tonka trucks in the backyard. Like that's where they parked their construction equipment. And I'm like, I don't want to play with this.
That's
Thanks
right.
for the Christmas gift. Throw that over my shoulder. When can we?
I want to
just
do that.
bugged them.
Yeah.
We bugged them and bugged them to get on the job site, and he took us. And so I can't do that anymore. But I mean, I was on the job site every weekend as a child. I remember by the time I was 13, I was operating a high track D8. A D8's a Caterpillar bulldozer that can walk through your house, Kevin.
Yes.
Like without skipping a beat, easily through your home.
Just bowl it right over.
Yeah, and we were moving like mounds of wood or dirt, whatever we were at, and it was really impressive. But, you know, I went out to business and I did what my family did. They struggled when they grew fast because everyone's using the word scale for growth and it's not the same thing. We grew fast. You know, I didn't understand what it mean to set myself up for scalability. So I just fell on my face profitability wise. I was sleeping in a Dodge Ram quad cab pickup truck and I was really frustrated. I didn't know how to best grow my company profitably. And so I was listening. Well, since we're on the show here, I got it somewhere. I got a cassette tape from Tony Robbins. It's called Power Talk. It's in here somewhere. And it's interviewing Jay Abraham, or Jay Abraham's interviewing him. You can't really tell. They were both like, you know, jockeying back and forth. And I listened to that tape every time I slept in my truck. I had nothing else to do. It's all personal growth stuff. How to win friends, influence people, you know, think and grow rich. But that cassette was my favorite. And I hypnotized myself to believing like, if I could hire Jay Abraham, you know, if he could help turn around American Express, he can help a schmuck like me. Mm-hmm. So I don't have $67 to sleep at the Roach Motel, Kevin, let alone, you know, I lost it all. Like I did really well young, made a lot of money, and then .coms went bust. And so did my money that was in the market. You know, I doubled down on this business and thought it mattered to have really nice phones and desks and 5,000 square foot office in Silicon Valley because that's where everyone's getting wealthy. And I was going broke. I thought $2.2 million of revenue meant I was a millionaire. No, that meant I was broke. I had greater debt than ever before. And that's when I turned, and we hired Jay Abraham, and that changed a lot. That decision put me on the path of what I'm doing here today. So I was born to do it. And then I spent the last 2 decades being conditioned to do it with over 25,000 clients paying me to want to learn how to better grow their business. Maybe even double the size of the company in 12 months.
Wow. So, okay. So you kind of, you know, talked a little bit about how you got into doing this and what, you know, what led to that. Give us an example or two of clients that you're able to talk about, that some of like what you've done to help them out and what that's looked like.
Yeah. You know, I just heard from Ron DeHaas and he just sent me a text. There's this company called Covenant Eyes. It helps you and your kids surf the internet with integrity.
Okay.
Because you got kids, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Ditto. And the average age of child sees pornography. Take a guess.
Average age?
Average age, the first time they see something hideous like pornography.
Man, I mean, I'm almost scared to even hear the answer to this, but yeah, I'm going to say 11 or 12.
Yeah, 9 years old now.
Not wow.
So because everyone's got this, the third parent, and this is just tickets to porn, and it's nasty. It's like bestiality. So it's not like, you know, it's not like the Super Bowl halftime show. It's porn. So that leads to, it's not enough. So it leads to sex slavery. And there are more human beings in sex slavery, or just slavery, period, on the planet now than ever before. So I'm pretty passionate about that. And that's one things they help mitigate. And so they hired us to help. How do they grow their company? They were $4.7 million when I spoke to this guy. I do this very unique thing to where everyone else is begging people to get on free webinars, and I don't do that. I charge people to participate in workshops. They're really small group settings, like 12 business owners at a time. And when it's small like that, you can engage and interact with every single one, give each of them a profound breakthrough in 2.5 hours. And he wanted to grow it, but it got his first time ever. It got stagnant. Like, he was so proud of his growth, because when you're going from, 500,000 to 1.2 million, it's the 140% rate of growth looks sexy on paper. But once you start hitting 5 million, you hit a milestone that most people just get stuck at.
Yeah.
He got hicked up at 2, and then he got a hiccup at, at 5. And I remember his CFO in this meeting, after we went on site, we audited his whole company. We found out all the problems in the organization. They flew us on site to Owasso, Michigan, in the middle of nowhere, man. And I'm there, and I still have the trench coat that I bought for that trip. It was just so bloody cold. I was like, I need to get this awesome trench coat. I went on site, and I laid a groundwork how to really get this company where it is today. It's, 30 million or something like that, with an exit for the founder. And for them, that was how to better market. And we taught them educational based marketing. So that changed everything. So they never hired a sales team. They only used customer service reps to effectively get that product in, and it's an app, into more people's hands. Okay. So some people need better marketing. Others need a recruit sales talent. That's something like I'm on every other podcast talking about how to recruit sales stars and pure commission, because I mastered that and kind of got famously known for doing it, because, a lot of people know the strategy, just execute it poorly. Or the Dream 100, which is everyone's talking about. Russell Brunson brags about helping him grow from 0 to 100 million in 4 years using that strategy. And my late partner made that move famous, and I've just worked with entrepreneurs to implement it. Whale hunting, you might know it as, those fewer, better clients, those that need and can afford a lot of what we have to sell. In fact, one chapter of that book started a whole business. If you've not interviewed John Ruhlin, you got to do it. He's right up the alley of appreciating relationships. Tell me he's on one of your programs.
Has he been? I've interviewed John for this. Yes.
Perfect. Because he's exactly right up your alley. Like, I love how he says it. He's like, you'll spend a ton of money on your ads or your staff or marketing or something. When's the last time what'd you spend last year? $1 million in marketing? When's the last time you spent $100,000 on your top 100 most important relationships?
Yeah.
Like, he says that all the time, because every single person looks like a chump when he says it.
That's right. That's right.
He sees the value in great relationships. And I know that's why your podcast does so well, your material and your content, because we all understand that business is commerce between people, and too many people are getting hyped up about AI right now. It is a technology platform, but the real AI is going to matter is it's going to be commoditized. Everyone will have access to AI to help them with a marketing thing, but you need the AI, which is authentic interactions. You need to have a strategy of how to have AI authentic interactions that can tie arbitrage of AI, grabbing someone's attention, to really having authentic interactions, because that's how you build raving fans. Authentic interactions help create an experience between you and your clients to where they want to come back, refer to others, buy more, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Obviously, I'm passionate about it, right?
Right.
Shut up talking about it.
It kind of comes through, Ted. Well, okay. So now that we've set a little bit of context here, I'm going to switch gears. What I'm going to do, I'm going to reiterate the question for the benefit of the listeners. And
sure, what's that?
Because you and I talked before we actually hit the record button, I got to tell you, I'm really stoked to hear about this. So, okay. So, have you ever met or been introduced to a person that completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not be possible if not for this person?
Well, first of all, countless. And I can name them all off, and a lot of them would be trite. Not that trite doesn't mean it's true, and doesn't mean it's as equally impactful for others. My wife, she's a Barracuda business person. We recruited her 17 years ago. Best thing that's ever happened to us. Best executive I've ever worked with. I remember the moment I got back into my faith, what you might call God. But the thing that came to my mind when you asked that earlier today. So today is the 13th. So today is my late business partner, Chet Holmes' birthday. That man and I went to battle and built a business from really nothing. Now, it's not like it was his first rodeo in this space. It was for me. Remember, I hired Jay Abraham for 40 grand. Well, that's how I met Chet. He partnered with Chet Holmes. Chet helped him make $11 million in the Abraham group. And so, he would do his super strategy stuff, and Chet would help everyone learn how to best implement that kind of proven strategy and tactic. Well, 2 years later came by, he just flat out recruited me to get him out of retirement because he had a little scare, a health scare, and it got back out of, he stopped basically selling movies to Warner Brothers. That's all he was doing, was writing movies, selling them with Warner Brothers. And he sold 3 of them anyhow. But he and I teamed up, and he and I went out and we spent many years struggling. But he had what he calls in his book, if you don't have this, you've got to go get The Ultimate Sales Machine. May be one of the best business books ever quoted. It's on all the list of the best business books out there. Anyone who's read it, they rave about it. And so long before this book was in existence, he and I partnered together and wanted to go out and help entrepreneurs learn how to double a size company in 12 months by implementing proven strategies and tactics. So he's been the most influential to me, because even though I was having babies, like, my wife giving birth, and we were raised a boy and a girl, I still talk to Chet Bo more than I talk to my wife every day. Like, if you get real about what you do in your day and you break down your hours, you spend way more time talking to your business partner than you ever do anyone else.
Yeah.
That lasted for 10 years until he passed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great run. We 250,000 clients together, $100 million in business coaching consulting. He had the vision to go partner with Tony Robbins. I would have never wanted to partner with personal growth guy. Why would I want to partner with that guy? I was judging him. I thought Tony was a schmuck. I'm dead wrong. Most heart-centered guy I've ever met. Pleasure to be in business with him for 4 years. I spent 10 years in his proximity because of that vision.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Chet has made the single greatest impact in my business career by far, from a decade until his passing.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, he passed unfortunately early in his life. I'm older than he's ever going to be forever. But on his deathbed, the number one they asked of people around him is, hey, take care of my family.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the wonderful pleasure and honor I never thought in a million years I'd work with one of their kids, because Amanda, Jordan's in tech stuff. He's doing great. Amanda was committing her time into an ashram because of this woman I turned Chet Holmes on to, helped him heal a cancer. He didn't die of cancer, by the way. He died of a medical intervention, skin graft disease from a bone marrow transplant. Anyhow, she, they didn't know what to do with that business, and I got involved, and we spent 4 years together. And I'm grateful that I partnered with Amanda, because Amanda got out of the ashram. She's like, what am I going to do? She doubled down on her business, and now she's going to take that business into whatever trajectory she sees necessary and fit for her. I would have never in a million years thought I could have honored Chet by helping his kids out, because she was like in college. You know what I mean? She's like a child. Like, last thing I was thinking of was a business partner.
Yeah.
And she's brilliant, completely different than her dad, and yet equally as brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, just did that for 4 years. Just wrapped that up a month and a half ago.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, see, my mind, and after doing, well, like I shared with you, you will be the 141st interview that I've done for this podcast. And
Nice.
my mind always goes to, because I even in just hearing what you just shared, Ted, that through working with Chet, the two of you guys had the opportunity to work with Tony, and then even during
and Jay Abraham and Jay Levinson, and we saw the value in good relationships.
Yep.
Especially in the same space you're in, because other weaker-minded human beings see them as your direct competitors. They're the greatest source of ideal clients you could ever have. Go partner with them. You'll go further together way faster than you ever will on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like everyone, what's the old African proverb is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I disagree. It's a nice proverb. I think you go faster and further together than you ever will alone.
Yeah.
I understand the premise is you're more nimble in the beginning, But most entrepreneurs fail in the beginning. They're go too fast and they're up against the I don't have enough revenue problems.
Yeah.
That's logical in early stage. I don't have enough, revenue. I don't have enough revenue. Cash flow is an issue. And then even if they learn how to get clients, they don't learn how to get clients that are profitable. And if they do that, they don't do it in a scalable market. Like I niched out with chiropractors because, we went to like, these things like traffic conversion and Icon for their conference they used to have. And people would say riches and niches. And I went and did it. And I niched out with chiropractors. But I ended up with 7,000 chiropractors in just 2 years. And the reason that's an issue, I painted myself into a corner. I went to their Parker convention, their big conference of the year, and they were bragging about having 70,000. I had 7,000. I had one in 10 clients or chiropractors were already my client. I was done. I was crying while everyone else was celebrating because I realized you need to not just get clients that are profitable. You need to do it in a scalable and a sustainable market. So I had to take that one on the chin, and that event helped me just make a new decision that in that moment I said, no more, never again. I'm going to get focused. I'm going to let Chet be that visionary. I'm not going to try to block him and have my own vision. He became very much a senior partner. We locked into that relationship where there's a word for it in English. It's when you knowingly and willingly take that step down. You say, okay, you are superior. I'm going to follow your lead. It starts with an A. I can't think of it right now. But by that act of doing so was the greatest gift that ever happened between us because we crushed it. We were like stumbling along trying to figure out if we're ever going to make it work. And if any of your followers ever want my magic formula, I'll send it to them on a YouTube link for free. And I tell the whole story how we ended up cracking our code. And we had 12,000 business owners calling us every stinking month for assistance. And I couldn't keep up with that, man. We were hiring 10 salespeople a week, Kevin, and we still couldn't keep up with that. That's a lot of people. We had 8,500 people on voicemail every month.
Wow.
It didn't matter how many salespeople. We just couldn't keep up with it. So we 10x'd in just 3 years from that one thing.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So, I will tell you, the examples that you're giving here of things that transpired, and the numbers that you're talking about, I think a lot of people listening to this is going to be like, wow, that is huge.
Well, huge for small businesses, it's huge for us. That year was $3 million, right? Okay. And for us going to 7 million in 12 months, that was huge for us. But we've had 60 to Fortune 500 clients. That's like a pimple on their butt. Like
that's right.
Like it's just like a day. I was drinking at this conference, traffic and conversion conference. And Brad had this merchant account processing thing, and he threw a party at this venue to get some of the best people there. And they were complaining about their ad spend, and I was too. And they said a figure that was a little bit more than me. And, I just assumed they were talking what they were spending in a year.
Okay.
It was a little bit more than me. And no, that's what they meant they were doing. And I said, no, is that quarterly? They looked at me and kind of sheepishly. And I'm like, monthly? And they're still looking at me and they go, what's the KPI measured on? They go, no, that's our weekly spend.
Oh, wow.
That is not 10xing. Like they're just a profoundly larger number.
Yeah.
So the only reason I went on to tell you that long ass story is your listeners to remember, if my number seems big to you, that number seemed big to me. But what I've since realized is there's no difference between the game other than a couple zeros. I mean, I don't want to downplay it, but I learned that technique from a guy that ran Kodak in the midst of doing a big turnaround there, Jeff Hazlett. C-Suite Network is where you can go check him out. And that was a question I asked him at Speakers Authors Networking Group was like, hey, how do you go from like, this guy making these decisions to that brand with that size? And he goes, it's the same thing, just more zeros.
Yeah. And
when I use that mentality, that you still feel equally as insecure. You still feel equally as confident. You have the same you-ness. Just the degree from which you show up has a greater exponential rate of return because of the magnitude of zeros.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't ever forget that.
Yeah. That's really valuable insight right there.
Yeah. Well, that came because Chet understood relationships like you do. Chet knew that we need to have the best relations around us. Way back in the day, we were living on joint venture partnerships, and I would hope someone promote my offer to their email. And sometimes I'd have commission breath. I'm like, how fast can we get it out to your list so I can make money? Because my salespeople are hungry. My coaches need to be fed. And Chet really understood the power of relationships. So he created a thing called Speakers, Authors, Networking Group. So all the major authors and speakers had a place to come to get together, because the more we knew each other, the more we trusted each other, the likelihood of emailing had nothing to do with a percentage cut of the back end deal. It was all on the relationships, and he understood that. So much so, on his deathbed, he asked me to get involved and help facilitate that event. But we all knew that event was going to end when he left. And so that spawned another guy named Joe Polish. He finished that group and pioneered his 25K group at the end of that. And so the first 40 or so people from that, until he got Kevin Donahue to sell another 140 seats into that program, pioneered straight from saying right into his group. And it's going strong to this day.
Yeah.
Have you had Joe on your session? He
I
has a
have
new book
not
out.
had Joe on here.
You should reach out to Joe, because he's got his new book, and the best time to get speakers and authors that you normally can't get on is when they're peddling a book.
That's right.
And he's got a really good book out there. So
I've got his book. Yeah. Good book.
So I won't pitch it now, because I want to save all the juice for when you get him on the show. But if you need me to text or anything like that, get him on here. That guy's, the most connected guy out there. Like he is. I think he really is.
For sure. Well, so let me ask you this. Because you've shared a lot of stuff that has happened as a result of the relationship that you and Chet had together. What is the one thing that stands out most for you that took place or transpired because of the relationship that you and Chet had, that hands down would have never happened had you not met Chet?
Well, I mean, I got so many things going through my head. Well, the best thing that I ever learned from that relationship, hands down, was educational based marketing. Best thing I ever learned. The best thing I ever learned was educational based marketing. That's what serves me and my clients. To this day, people are struggling. How do I grab people's attention? He called it a core story in his book, The Ultimate Sales Machine. I don't know if you have resources on this thing that you have, but I can give them a resource to chapter 4 for free. So I can just flippantly mention it and they can go read it. But try to summarize in a sentence. It says, people are going to be 9 times more likely to want to learn something of great value from you than they ever are to hear you sell them anything. That's why my workshops that sell methodology work so well, is because people are paying to come learn something, not get pitched. That's why these webinars and teleconferences and stuff, people just know. Here's just another sales pitch. They're not stupid. Let's do a free consultation. Doing B2B. Hey, we're going to do a free consult. That just means sales pitch. Do a webinar B2C. It's a sales pitch. Like, they're not dumb. So, but if you can just put your best foot forward. So I'd say that's the best thing that I ever learned as a strategy. And then, between Chet and maybe a little flavor of Tony Robbins, because he was partnered with us at that time, was the true power of relations. Like, Chet was a very polarizing guy, so he'd rub people wrong. And I was interested in that because no one really could see this guy's heart for what it really was, because he had this veneer on him. It's just New Yorker. I'm from Chicago. He's from New York, just the energy of it. And Tony kind of helped come with a little emotional intelligence and helped me even see it more clearly, which is going back to like a Jay Abraham strategy, which is your direct partner or your indirect competitors, let alone direct competitors, are like their greatest source of new clients for you. Like, go spend time with them, like befriend them. My other partner, Robert Allen, he taught me, he's like, go grab your phone and I want you to use contact list, and you could feature top 100 relationships and make sure that you don't forget to communicate with those top 100. So Chet passed away 10 years ago, but because I do that and he's still in my mind as one of my top 100, I gave it to you as my one today. I went and posted on his Facebook page. Now, he's long gone and dead. but I know he's left a legacy. I mean, we've reached 1 million people. We had 250,000 clients. So I went and posted on his Facebook page and just put up a picture with me. And we had 1,000 people in this one room. And we gave away so much so that it was Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. So shout out to them. It's a real estate conference that they have. And it was the last one they had before COVID shut everything down. We were the last major conference that year. And we had a ton of people, hundreds try to get on the stage. Like so many people on the stage, we thought the stage would collapse. That many people lined up, all holding up the ultimate sales machine. And that's why I posted on his Facebook page today.
That's awesome.
So, but I'm not always that good about it. I mean, that's why people like you are invaluable. Is we have the intent to want to stay connected, but sometimes we reach out and we feel a little shame and guilt. Like we met someone at a conference and we said we're going to want to stay connected to, and we didn't. Right. And so what do you do?
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Your services, provide that. So if you've had people that are listening to you for years, just listening, not realizing that you have a whole service and operations behind it, you might want to go check out what Kevin has to offer. Might just be the most profitable decision you've ever made.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Ted.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't see anyone else out there doing it as well. Like I told you, John Ruhlin, you guys are both, at that same stage of appreciating relationships, completely different models, but still with the same degree of insight, intelligence, and compassion behind it. Like you have no one's ever going to look at you and go, that guy, all he wants is money. I call that commission breath. Like I can get accused of that because I'm from Chicago. I talk fast, and anyone who talks fast and confidently, there's a veneer of arrogance people might pick up on quickly. And it's like, well, no, that's just Chicago Teddy in me. That doesn't come out. You have none of that. So like, you'll never get accused of that because you've just never operated like that ever in the decade of, 8 years of knowing you. I don't think it's ever come out of you. 9 years now.
Yeah.
Right. You're just like, how can I serve you? How can I help you? Hey, what's your best relationship you're working on? Right. Give. You're not doing the game of give, take. Like it just, you just know it's working out. And I bet it's worked out really well for you since you started this podcast. What's happened in your business? Because you've really committed to this.
So many things have come from doing this podcast, Ted.
Yeah.
And we'd spend another 25, 30 minutes talking about all the stuff that's come from this podcast. But
I bet because as soon as you commit to just contributing, as my most recent social media post, other than chat, but to mine for like marketing purposes, was like, I think the universe steps behind you, and grace shows up when you're in the true spirit of servitude and you're not looking to get something out of it.
Yeah.
You always get something out of it.
Yeah.
And you're not doing it because you're going to get something out of it. But the act of giving is the gift that you get. Yes. Like once it's gotten to that level to where the giving is the getting.
Yes.
The serendipity is almost inevitable. Like it just shows up.
Yeah.
And I don't think people get that.
Now I've got regular content getting published all the time. Mm-hmm. I have got to connect with many of my longtime heroes because of this podcast. I have had more in-depth, deep, meaningful conversations in the last 18 months than in the last 18 years. I thought I was pretty good at it already, but
you are good at it. And but not all of us are. I mean, that's why we need you. I mean, I'll be vulnerable, I'll share. You invited me moons ago. Like I reached out to you and all you had to do is scroll back one step and you said, yeah, I sent you the link into my calendar like months ago, or I asked you to be a part of this. It was like when you launched it, actually. So it was at the beginning. You're like, hey, I got a very secret thing to talk to you about. And I don't know what happened in my life. Like what was going on, a wife, a kid. For me, for 10 years, I was in agonizing back pain. I had a physical ailment that no one knew about because I'm, hard ass. I stuff all emotions. And I didn't want to embrace it. And, emotions show up physically. Yeah. I'm telling you, it'll kill you if you don't get it down. And it about killed me. I spent a month and a half laid out, not even in a bed. I couldn't even lay flat. It was in a chair up in my bedroom, debilitated. And what I've learned is, you just process different when you're in pain. And so that allowed me in hindsight to expand my compassion for others, that they say they want something, but their actions aren't always in alignment. They're probably just processing something, a trauma of some sort. Mine was physical, but sometimes it's emotional, whatever. And, because I hold pretty high standards, sometimes I could maybe, like, that's your own doing. Well, or it could be they're just not ready yet. Maybe they needed what I needed with you, which was 18 months for me to come full circle. And so, hey, Kevin, let's connect. Right? Whatever it is, it's the right thing at the wrong time is still the wrong thing.
That's right.
If you could eliminate your judgment, it'll open the space for people to get to that even quicker.
Yeah.
Because they're not creating their own existence on their own. We're co-creating our mutual existence together.
That's
so
right.
We're both manifesting this experience. So it takes two to tango kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
that's
my thought on the day.
Let go of stuff and know that it's nothing personal, like what you mentioned. Heck, I reached out a long time ago, right when I was launching this thing, and it just wasn't timing, and it wasn't the right time then. But everything happens in the perfect timing.
And it does happen in the perfect time.
We just keep doing our thing, and when the right timing is ready, stuff will happen.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Well, I'll tell you what, for anybody listening to this, Ted, that is like, man, I just really like that Ted guy, Kevin. I love the way he shows up. You mentioned a couple of resources. How can they find out more about what you guys are doing and all that kind of stuff?
Hands down, the businessbreakthroughcommunity.com. I would go there and get into our world. Whereas in this podcast, we're doing a one-on-one, and I love these one-on-ones. Yet when I'm a listener, I want to be a part of the one-on-one. So I created a community. It's called the Business Breakthrough Community, where business owners, CEOs can get together, because we're unique breeds. For us to go start our own company, we're very unique. We feel alone. One of my old clients, and he said it best. He eventually came out with a book about it. Alex Sharfin called it something. I forgot what he called, entrepreneur personality type. And he described it really well. Yeah. We're like a very unique breed. Well, because we're so unique, we feel alone. Well, I decided to eliminate that so people would stop feeling alone by creating a community to where everyone's like, oh, you get me, I get you, we're together. And then like the Zoom, instead of one-on-one, I put 12 people on like the Brady Bunch screen. And the purpose of that is for diverse feedback. If someone says, hey, I get this problem, someone can offer a solution. And that was good for them, but maybe it's not good for them, the person who asked that. But there's 5 other people that solved that problem, and they solved it in a different way. So that's why I created this business breakthrough community. Even though you might have 1,000 on a Zoom, you always have 12 that are representing thoughts, opinions, ideas, asking questions, and it creates a higher degree of interactivity, and it guarantees a more diverse sense of perspective. So businessbreakthrough.com, I'd say, is the best way to do it for free. Come in our world, and we'll see you in a session here soon.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. Well, Ted, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. I really appreciate it. Any last thing you want to share before we call it a wrap?
If you're not where you need to be, like, get over it. Like, sometimes it's just a timing thing. Like, persistence has proven to pay off. Persistence has proven to pay off. 3 Ps. Double down on it. The 3 Ps will always serve you well. The time is just a relevance thing.
Absolutely. Well, Ted, thanks again. Really appreciate having this conversation with you today.
All right. Appreciate you, bud.